Welcome everybody to Catfish Weekly. This is Catfish Weekly 73, sponsored by Whisker Wear Apparel. Along with Chris Wallace and Chuck Davison, I'm Lyle Stokes, and tonight we're going to be talking about current events. I got a little bit to talk about with the floods in my area, and Chuck's got some stuff, and I'm sure Chris has got plenty, and we'll just have a little go at what's happening around everybody's area right now. Chris, what do you got?
Well, we're talking a little bit about a lot of people in the country right now. Not everybody. I guess Chuck is a little bit lucky, but talk a little bit about the flooding that's going on. There's a lot of rain that's been coming through, still planning to come through. You know, there's places that you can go fish even when you have a lot of flooding going on in lakes and reservoirs and rivers and stuff. This weekend I looked around, tried to find some places that we're going to be able to fish, and my wife and I found a few lakes and decided to go fish a small little tournament. But there's a lot of, if you look on Facebook and stuff, you see a lot of people posting pictures and videos, you know, of different area with the water running crazy, and or stories of, you know, the people going out in it and messing around. I watched a video here recently of it might have been that Texas Lake Texoma or something, where normally the water isn't running up over there, and now it is. And then there was a boat that was out there running, and I'm talking they were probably getting 5 foot from the ledge of that drop off, and they were they turn it around and just slowly, you know, sort of stick right there, and then maybe gun it up, and it almost looked to me like somebody that was playing around, and they were playing with death. I mean, it looked like if they were to get pulled over that wall, that they were pretty much gone. They were done for. And you know, boats can have mechanical failures, can just stall out on you. You know, a log could be underwater, or a whole tree could be underwater, grab a hold of that boat. Really, you know, that's something that, I mean, I hate to say it, but somebody caught doing something like that, they need to be fined heavily. They probably need to have their boating privileges completely taken away, because not only are they endangering themselves, they're endangering the safety people that have to come out and try to fish their, you know, bodies out of the water and stuff like that. They're really, you know, doing some things that it's not just them, and they're just trying to either get on the, you know, get on the internet or get on the news, or be silly or something. Um, and I think it's something you just, there has to be some sort of penalty system that keeps people from doing that. And right now there really isn't anything. I don't know. Did either of you guys seen that video that I'm talking about?
I have not, but I'd like to.
Yeah, it was. You could there was. I mean, it had. I think it had gone viral. There was definitely some stupidity involved, and it was just showing off. I mean, pulling right up to the ledge of where the water is just rushing off the ledge down a dam, and he was pulling right to the edge of that, and then, you know, sort of hanging out there for a few, like just having the motor just enough to keep him right there, and then he'd gun it forward and he'd come back out. And you could tell even when he gunned it down, he'd be like probably moving 5 mile an hour. That's how fast that current was pushing through there.
Wow. That's you know, the old rivers, every one of them, but the big ones especially, and I'm talking about Mississippi, Missouri, Ohio, any of the major rivers, you got to give them ladies the respect they deserve. I mean, people forget how much force you get with water current. It's unbelievable, and the danger of that is really unbelievable too, because people they forget why it's like that and how it's like that.
Oh yeah, you got to do you need to put the code up for the new video on the website. They got the last week's video on there.
The code. Well, I'm not sure where I messed up.
Hang on a second, guys. We'll get this taken care of.
What are they watching last week's show right now?
Yeah, the live video code is not there. It's the last week's video still there.
Is that the one that's at the top of the page?
In the code thing?
Okay.
No, yeah, on the show here, it's down the bottom right hand corner, that little drop down box that gives you the 3 codes. I believe it's the embed code or something.
All right, I thought I'd done that.
Maybe did you hit update or publish or whatever?
No, that's what I do.
Forgot to hit the publish.
Yeah, I sure didn't. Let's see if I can get back to it.
But while you're doing that, I'll, yeah, the doing that stuff, like I said, there's no, I guess you could probably get a ticket for something like improper boat use or something, but there needs to be something more severe. I mean, like I said, when you're not just endangering your life, but you're endangering safety personnel, maybe even if you do something like that and just a public bystander sees it, you don't know that they ain't going to dive in and try to help you, and then they're going to get swept downstream and drowned. I mean, there's lots of things that can happen that you don't really expect or count on. There you go.
Should be good.
But besides that, different areas and things. I mean, right now, I think a lot of people are going to be dealing with either right in spawn. You're looking at 80-degree water temps around here. If you're lucky, you might be looking post spawn. Talking with Don Elder today, he's telling me the Ohio River is post spawn. Blues are coming off the nest down there. I hope that's the case. I think we're going to be down there fishing an ICA tournament this weekend, so I'm hoping that get on some blues and some flatheads maybe, and but the tournament that I fished this weekend was on a lake, and the water temp was about 80 degrees. It was Channel Cat Lake. There was flatheads in it, but I didn't really flathead fish it. But during the spawn, there's some things I feel like you have to do. You really have to work harder during the spawn to get any fish. There was only like 7 boats. This was a club I've never fished before. I just wanted to go fish with my wife. Me and her went fishing. We went out. We got there, and it was really a packed day on the lake. Of course, it's 90 degrees out, and people were getting out on the water and stuff. But I worked pretty hard. I got out there, and I think I threw the cast net for an hour, and I got about 12 or 15 shad, a good size shad. But that fresh shad, from like talking with the people we've had on the show, and from my experiences this year, the fresh bait really is something that people need to put more effort into to do better in the tournaments, and myself included. That's something that I've always been like, oh, I can use some recently frozen stuff or even just some older frozen stuff, and it's good, but really the fresh bait is where it's at. But as far as the spawn goes, what I was doing this weekend to find fish, really using my depth finder, relying on my depth finder. That's another thing that we've talked about, and I'm trying to get better at, instead of just going to where I think they're going to be at or going to a spot that I know. I really was watching my depth finder a lot. I was going through lots of different depths to see if I could locate fish. Aaron Wheatley asked, where's the ICA tournament this weekend? It's either going to be at New Albany. If it gets moved at all, then it'll be at Duffy's Landing, I believe. But I don't know where it's going to be at, one or the other. Keep an eye on the ICA Facebook page. We'll let you know if we decide to move it. I'll talk with him tonight, see what he wants to do. But anyway, I was on the lake. I was using my depth finder to really target where I seen fish on my depth finder. And with the electronics and stuff, it you really have to you put your time in with your electronics to start understanding. Am I really seeing a rock over here? Am I seeing some debris? Am I seeing shad, or am I seeing a catfish? Or a bigger fish or something? And I felt like I did that a little better, as most of the guys that were fishing this tournament, there were people drifting, really putting a lot of work in. There were a lot of people around where I was at, and I was catching fish when they weren't. And I only caught 3 fish out of 5 the whole night, but I had like 17 something pounds with 3 channel cats, which during the spawn I don't feel like is too bad at all. That's a pretty tough thing to do when the fish are pretty much lockjawed. And I think that fresh shad helped me in the fact that I located these fish. I seen exactly where they were, and I threw out on top of them. And one of the males that I caught, I mean, he was one of them big, meaty-headed, muscle-brained males that was scarred up like he'd been battling and stuff. And the other 2 were some females, but yeah, I think my big one was an 8.6-pound channel cat, and it was tough. But like I said, putting the work in with the fresh bait, using your depth finder, um, finding where you think the fish are actually going to be at, and then getting them to bite. It's definitely fun progressing in catfishing and learning and feeling like you're doing things the correct way, and you're getting better. And that's all with time.
Those those fish that are beat up like that, do you think that they are coming off a spawn, or are they fighting, jockeying for position?
Right now, I would say with that 79-degree water temp or so, I would say that they're and with so few fish caught. I mean, like out of the 7 boats, I think 4 of them didn't even catch a fish. 2 of them caught 1 fish. No, 1 caught 1 fish. I caught 3 fish, and the guy who won had 5 fish, but he was fishing with shrimp, and he had a lot of like 1 to 2 pounders that weren't. I don't believe they were sexually mature enough to spawn yet. So um, he baited down, used a lot of little stuff, and ended up winning in the tournament. So it's not a bad plan during the spawn. So I would say that right now, I think they were battling for position and stuff. They were fighting over the females, and that's
Yeah.
what I think.
And I'm a firm believer that they don't all go on spawn at the same time. Therefore, they don't all are not all in spawn at the same time, and they don't all come off at the same time. So some of them are probably getting done, while others is just getting in the process of it. So yeah, I can't imagine that they'd all go on at the same within a few days. I do believe that they'll all go on nest within a week or 2 of each other. But I just don't think they all do. But if Aaron thinks that the females are coming off down his area, and that's awesome, because them old gals will be hungry after being up there for a couple of weeks. They'll be ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah, Aaron, if you know anybody that wants to come up that way and fish, it's an open tournament, so they don't got to deal with any membership fees or anything like that. But even the rest of our tournaments, I think we're going to have one down at Angel Mounds here in a month or so. Membership fees are only $5 for the rest of the year, so definitely send them up our way.
I talked to Aaron the other night on the phone, and sometime after the first of the month, we're going to be gearing up for Monsters in the Ohio. So you guys be sure and tune in a couple of weeks. We're going to have Aaron Wheatley on with us, and we're going to talk about what it's going to take to get into Monsters of the Ohio, how many entries he's got, how the fishing's going to be, and anything you want to know about Monsters on the Ohio, we will have the man here in person.
Eric B. Yeah. Don Elder told me the Ohio was ripping and roaring underneath the McAlpine. He thinks that um, Duffy's Landing will definitely be a safer and better place. Hopefully that's what um, you know, Terry, who's our tournament director. It's a lot mostly on what he wants to do. We all get together and talk about it, but I'm leaving that up to him as tournament director. He makes those decisions. But hopefully, no matter what, we get to go down and put some poles in the water and catch some fish, and everybody's safe and has a good time.
Me and safe right now. Is the water bad over there, Chris?
That's what they're saying. I'm 2 hours plus away from any part of the Ohio River, and the section that they're talking about, I'm about 3.5 hours away. I'm hearing that they've got every gate wide open on that dam. That's why he wants it to be up above. Normally, when the New Albany ramp is like less than probably 2 miles, maybe 2.5 miles from the dam, so there's a lot of current right at that ramp. Up above, of course, it's miles before, probably 5 miles or so until you even get to the dam below it, and it's never really as bad that far downriver.
Well, safety first. As long as everybody's careful, they should be all right. Most of the guys that fish tournaments are pretty experienced. That doesn't mean you can't get in trouble, but as long as they're careful, hopefully everything will go good. You guys have a great tournament.
Yeah.
You have anything else about that?
Um, no, not offhand.
Okay. How about you, Chuck? What do you got tonight?
Um, Not a whole lot. We're starting to have our post spawn down here. I haven't been out in a while, so it's about that time for me. The the blues should be coming off. When we had a tournament on the lake below us in the 1st of May, and they were already pretty pretty out of it by then. We couldn't. There was only very few blues caught in that tournament. And the week before that, they were biting really good. So, not only are they coming off spawn, they're already getting some of their energy back. They're being caught in the places that have a whole lot of food. So the guys below the dams where where they're getting plenty of cut up bait coming through the turbines. A lot of guys are catching them. The ones that are being caught already on the Tennessee River are like on the mussel beds and stuff like that. And in the flats where there's a lot of algae and the shad are really thick. So, they're trying to get their energy back, and they want to be in places where they don't have to work very hard for their food, but they want to be where the food is really abundant. Um, and even though it's summertime and the water's warm, right at the beginning of this post spawn, I still like to take it slow. Um, because they took a beating over the past month or so, and they've depleted all their energies, and it's going to take them a good few weeks to get their energy back good enough to where they really get out, spread out really good. They're, right now there's not a whole lot of food in a bunch of different places. So when they're coming off the spawn, if you can find a good place with a lot of food, you can probably end up catching a whole lot of fish right here at the beginning. But after that, they're going to get so spread out. It's going to take a whole lot of drifting and dragging to find them and get them. Um, we're going to be having a tournament here on Weiss Lake. It is the the northernmost upper reservoir on the Coosa River. It's in Alabama, but it's where the Coosa River comes out of Rome, Georgia. Um, it's going to be July the 11th, Bass Pro Shop Big Cat Quest tournament in Leesburg. Um, so they should be off really good by then. I hope they got a lot of their energy back by then. Um, but I've never really fished that lake. There's a lot of deep ledges, um, lots of structure on that lake, lots of big flatheads, but they're probably still going to be on the spawn at this time. Um, and then the end of July is going to be our next tournament that I'm gonna fish. That's Alabama Catfish Trail. Oh, Daniel Parsons and his wife, they're having a tournament on Logan Martin, which is my home lake, July 25th, and it's going to be a night tournament from 5 p.m. to 2 a.m. And we're going to be launching out of Lakeside Landing. It's a really big, it's a marina type harbor, so there's plenty of parking. I mean, some of these big tournaments that have 150 and 200 boat coming out of it on these bass tournaments, they launch out of there, so there's going to be plenty of room. So if anybody wants to come down for a good night tournament, it's going to be on about then. I wish we had some rain down here. The rain is hit us a little bit here and there. We'll have some quick afternoon thunderstorms come through. Some of them for like 30 seconds. I mean, literally, we had one come through Saturday, and all of a sudden the satellite said no signal on TV. It rained really hard for 30 seconds, and I opened the door, and the sun was peeking through, and it quit.
Wow.
So we're really needing rain down here really bad. It's really dry. Uh, the power company's not moving current unless they're needing power, which during the summer everybody's running their air conditioners and stuff, so usually have a lot more current than in the wintertime, because everybody's got to have electricity for the AC. You don't have the propane and natural gas alternatives mostly on those. So if we get a little bit more rain and cool these lakes off a little bit and get these oxygen levels up, we should be getting a good bite coming on pretty soon.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Around our area, we are flooded nearly everywhere you go. Yesterday we was on the road for a little bit, and there was actually several major highways in our area that was closed due to high water. Stuff that I'd never seen, roads that I'd never seen closed before was closed yesterday. 161, Highway 54, major roads in our area. Mississippi's flooded. I believe a guy said a while ago is moderate. Missouri River went across it over the weekend, and it is bank full. No dike showing, no nothing. I'm not sure what the water levels are, but they're extremely high. Of course, the lakes and everything are doing all right, but if I was going to be out fishing, in the next few days, I would be headed to a lake somewhere, and the rivers are just, they're a mess. We got a tournament coming up, a night tournament at Keokuk, Iowa. I believe it's the 10th or 11th of July. I believe it's the 11th. It's going to have to change before we'll have to, take a look at that. I personally wouldn't get out on it at night. Strange water that I'm not accustomed to with the conditions that we have, and it's just going to keep staying up because all the creeks, you can't even mow your yard. I mean, we've had so much rain. It's just been really, really bad. To the best of my knowledge, in our area, fish are in the middle of spawn. Some of them may be coming off, but like I say, the rivers are so bad. I don't know of anybody that's really been out on them. So the lake's probably coming off. Would be my guess. I haven't been on any lakes yet, but hope to get to before long, and we'll see how that works out. But by the time I get around to it, they should all be just about done. And see how that works. I have a little something that I wanted to talk about. That is not a big deal in no means of the word, but I notice online, everybody's on Facebook and social media of some kind, and we get a lot of flyers posted for fishing tournaments all over the place. And there's a bunch of these flyers that tells the sponsors and the start time and the name of a town, but they don't say what state they're in. And like Springfield, there's a Springfield in every state in the union. So if you guys don't list them, you're not going to get out-of-state people to come to travel to these tournaments because they don't know where you're talking about. Some of you guys, these tournament directors, you need to put contact phone numbers on there and addresses for the boat ramps and what state they're in, what city, whatever's close. There's a lot of guys that will want to fish these tournaments, and if they can't get to them or they don't know where they're going, they're not even going to take a look at you. So watch that and try to make that a little bit better, and maybe that'll help you get bigger numbers into your tournaments.
Yeah. Definitely, the more information you have on a flyer or something you're posting out, the better. The better I think that you're going to get people to show up. I mean, they don't have to call you and ask a ton of questions. You know, it's all pretty much there for them, exactly where they're going to be at, what to expect. You know, rules, all that stuff.
That's correct.
Yeah, one of the other things I had was that we've got one of my favorite places to fish up here it's called J. Edward Roush, or just Huntington, in the town of Huntington. And I was telling them a little bit about it beforehand. It is up right now over pool 50 feet over normal summer pool. You know, there's places that hold water like that, and that's actually only about a foot over flood pool. But the town of Huntington, I believe, from a lot of people that I've talked to, have not seen it at that stage in 20, 30 years or more, easily. And that's, 50 foot. When I'm at the dam, I was telling them I'll anchor up. They got like a like a rope buoy line that you can't get any closer to the dam. And normally I'll go to that rope buoy line and I'll there's two rock walls basically, and then there's the whole dam thing right there, and I'll tie my anchor right up on that buoy to my boat, and I'll cast my lines right over into that dam area. And normally you're looking like way up there, and you got cars and stuff that are going by, and you know, right now that water is almost going over that road, that highway up there, and that's just crazy to think about. And there are some pictures people posted online they've done with like the drones and things like that of it and everything, and gone out and take. Actually, Steve Einbody, thanks a lot. I asked you to go take some pictures, and you did, and posted them up, and that was pretty cool of you. So thanks to you, Steve. It was neat to see. I thought about driving up there. That's an hour drive up there, and I got to see it because you went and posted them pictures for me.
Well, you talk about them flooded lakes. A few years, well, it's been several years ago now, but when we lived down in Springfield, I used to go up and fish Truman a lot by myself, and the year that it set a record, people was going around with spray paint cans and marking places on rock bluffs and stuff. The water was so high, it would give everybody an idea of where they was at and how high the water actually can be. And I caught at that time my biggest flathead to that date, and it was a 38-pound flathead, and it was right before or right after spawn, I don't remember now, and fishing by myself in that flooded water. But I will tell you the next weekend after that, my oldest son and I went out, and we had a small John boat, and we was anchored in some fast current, and we was fishing out of the back of the boat, and a big tree limb come down and caught our anchor rope and was taking the front of the boat underwater. And that's why we talk about safety and stuff, but I kept telling Tony just cut the rope, and he was going to save that anchor, and I said, don't, just cut the rope. I mean, we got more anchors, and if we don't, we'll just go in and get one. I mean, you got to make sure that safety has to be a factor. If there's you by yourself, something that I'm going to mention that we do, I got two knives that are pretty sharp in the front of the boat for that reason. If you're cutting bait up there, you got one, and then one is specifically made to cut anchor ropes if somebody gets in trouble or you get a limb on it. We also have two in the back of the boat for the same reason. That way, if there's something going on, something happens, you can get cut away. You know, you can get your foot or leg tangled up in an anchor rope when you're throwing it in, or while you're there pulling it up. A number of things can happen, and keep a knife and make sure everybody knows where they're at, because you just I can't stress enough how important it is for the safety factor, because especially when the waters are high like they are now, and it doesn't take but a second to get yourself in trouble, and then you're in trouble.
I would say even more so for you guys in the John style boats. Them boats don't hold as much foam and stuff as the deep V's, and they're not gonna. It's gonna take even less amount of time for that water to come up over and sink that thing. So
That's true.
Yeah, if a big submerged log hit my anchor rope and my anchor was stuck really good, um, when I have my live well full, when I was toting it around on the front deck of my boat, um, with about 50 gallons in it, that would be about, you know, I'd say less than 50 gallons, probably 400 pounds of water. When I would get up there with it, I would have probably 3 inches before the front of my 1860 was going to be in the water. So if a large log hit that anchor rope, um, it would stand that boat straight up in the water. I guarantee you. It would. Then as soon as the nose stuck and that current hit that front deck, that boat motor would be straight up.
Yeah,
There's no doubt about it. It would dump everything in your boat, and it would flip the boat on over, and it would just be a mess.
you
Um,
know, I'm not a big proponent for setting anchors. If you're anchor fishing, you know, most of us have been that fish these tournaments been around water our whole life. Uh, Now is the time. If you're going to wear a life jacket, and I would highly recommend it, to wear one at all times. If you think they're uncomfortable, and I know they are, they're hot, they sweat, but if you get those ones that's got the little cord on it that you pull, or that when if you get in the water, it automatically inflates. I know they're a little more expensive, but they're money well spent, and it might just save your life. Right now, it's not fishing these rivers is not like a lake where you don't have any current, or very little current. These rivers are rocking. I'm guessing right now the Missouri and the Mississippi both are probably somewhere in the 8 to 10 mile an hour range. Could possibly be more than that. I haven't been on them, but if you don't give that water the respect it needs, you're going to be in trouble. There's Jason Mathena just joined us. I bet he knows how fast that water is.
he said it's drifting season, so it must be about 20 mile an hour.
Yeah, but he likes it like that. Old big cat, he's into them fish all the time. He'll know if they're spawning, he'll know if they're not, and he'll know how fast that water is, what they're biting on, and everything else.
yeah, if you guys don't care, I got a funny little post that Jason Malone had posted. I don't know if you guys had read it or not, but I'll read it off to you guys because I don't want to mess anything up. It's a little lengthy, and it was just about an interesting conversation he had with somebody, and I guess this could happen to any of us. And sometimes you got to remember to take advice and things with a grain of salt. And this is a perfect example of that. His post is met the most knowledgeable boat owner of his life. He was at the car wash blasting catfish slime out of his tracker's carpet when the guy walked up to him and said, "I see you bought a new to you boat." And he goes, before he even had time to reply, he said, "You know how I know it's new to you?" And he said that only a new boat owner would take the time to power wash the carpet. He said, and in a couple of weeks, you're going to realize the floor rotted out from the water. And he said it only takes a time or two of washing the floor out before the carpet pulls away from the flooring. He kind of chuckled about it since he's basically done this since he's owned the boat, which has been quite a while, many years, I believe. he said, I chuckled since I've done this almost every time I use the boat. Then he continued on telling him how all the rivets holding his hull together would fall out, and his trailer tongue is too short, and he'll never be able to back it anywhere. He told him he should have bought a two-stroke since oil changes are bad for the environment, and that a 60 horsepower four-stroke is only half as powerful as a 60 horsepower two-stroke. Lastly, he explained that his 88-inch beam is far too narrow to stand up in a deep V boat, and that he should have purchased a flat bottom because it would ride better in big waves and smooth out chop at speed.
Oh,
Told him the guy that he bought the boat from must have been a crappie fisherman, since the spoiler on the back had lightweight rod holders on it, and the big red and black rod holders on the front were for trolling. So as he sat there thinking about expertise, he must have been wrong to think about his Driftmaster trollers were heavy duty, being half inch. How strong can a half inch stainless steel rod holder actually be? And he wondered if his carpet would be pulled from the rotten floor by morning. And he's thankful to be alive after riding out many a storms in such a narrow little deep V that you couldn't stand up in. He's considering burning his used motor oil, since it has to be better for the environment than recycling. And if only his horsepower only has as much as a 32 stroke, maybe he should just go ahead and upgrade. There was a couple more things. He noticed that the guy was driving a Prius and was a proud Obama supporter, but that's regardless. But it was a funny story. I mean, when you think about that, the guy came up to him, pretty much didn't let him get a word in otherwise, pretty much told him all these statements of facts that aren't facts at all, and sometimes you just have to take the advice that people give you with a grain of salt, like he did, chuckle about it, maybe post it on Facebook or whatever, just to have a little fun with it. But don't go selling your boat or trading your boat and stuff because of what some random guy at a car wash or gas station or something comes up to you and says, especially if you did just buy the boat. I mean, that kind of advice and stuff can really resonate with people and make them double think things and make mistakes. And I mean, I got a perfect example of how that works, and that was with the Ming Yangs, and I've talked about it before. I had nice Abu Garcia reels, and I was duped, and it was my own fault for not thinking things through and knowing with what I already had and knowing it worked, and selling all my Abu Garcias to buy a line of 6 Ming Yangs, and that, all off of the recommendation of good old Louderback on Catfish One. I think that's who it was, but pushing them Ming Yangs hard, and they were the junkiest reels I've ever used. I had handles. I got a video of the handle breaking off on a 2-pound channel cat. I mean, those were, anybody on here that's used them for the most part. There's a few guys that liked them and had all right success with them, but anybody who used them pretty much said the same thing. They were definitely not a quality product at all.
Wasn't it Bobby Vargas that done the video of beating one up or setting it on fire or something a couple years ago? It was hilarious.
There's been quite a few of those, I think. So.
Yeah, Bobby said that they would even make a good sinker.
Yeah. I don't even know if they'd make a good sinker.
Yeah.
Yeah, he beat it up, squirted lighter fluid on it, everything else.
I watched it. I remember it. Just not to interrupt or change the subject or anything, but I just got confirmation, if everything goes according to plan and nothing changes on a work schedule, July 20th, we will have Jason Big Cat Mathena on our show, live, ready to rock. So you guys that want to see it, talk to somebody and ask questions to somebody that knows about catching lots and lots of major fish, July 20th, Jason Mathena will be on here. Hopefully he can get his mother Vicky in there with him on their webcam. And if we could get them two on there. But Jason has confirmed that he's off the 20th. He's got a new computer. He's all set to go. So we're looking forward to that. That'll be a great show. Wealth of information. One of the greatest catfishermen anywhere in the United States, but top-notch guy. He's just a heck of a guy. So it'll be a lot of fun, and we'll have a good time with Jason.
Yeah, I hope someday I get to go out and go fishing with Jason as well. Jason and Vicky.
Everybody might
Adam.
have run across the YouTube video. It says catfisherman breaks rod or fishing rod or something like that. That's a few-year-old video. It's really funny. Yeah, that's Jason. He's if you look it up, I come across it all the time on YouTube.
Jason has been to my house a few times, and if you guys ever look at the Black Horse stuff on YouTube or Facebook or whatever, and you see the guy with the 10-foot stinger rod in his hand lean back, muscled up on it, that's Jason, 6'5", and somewhere in the 300-pound neighborhood, and he's leaned back on a rod that I had just built and finished the night before, and we've got it tied on to a wooden fence behind my house, and Jason, I told him to try to break it. That's what he's doing when we took the picture. So he's a heck of a guy. He's one of the greatest guys I know and one of the top-notch fishermen anywhere you go. If he's at a tournament, you better be watching out because he's going to be putting fish in the boat. So that'll be great. We've got some other people that we're working on getting in too. So maybe we can get everything set up. I just got a message from Josh Vanover, September 19th at Cannleton Dam on the Ohio River is going to be the Bruce Midkiff Memorial Event. Free entry, pays good money. Should be a big turnout for that. So you guys in that area, run down and join in on that. I understand that's a really good tournament for a good cause. You get to get in and try to get some free, some good payout, and I think they got some prizes and stuff too, but it's the 19th at the Cannleton Dam on the Ohio River.
So you say September 19th?
September 19th at the Cannleton Dam on the Ohio River, yeah. And I'm sure I'm not saying that name right, but it's memorial for Bruce Midkiff. I know they had that last year too. I got some information on it then, and wasn't able to make it. But thanks, Josh, for making us aware of that, and you might mention it to us every week so we can bring that up. But anything for a good cause, where all of us are all about, and stuff like that is definitely for a good cause, and that helps everybody out.
I got a little more I can talk about.
Sure.
Just about this last tournament that I went to, just to give people an idea of a process that I went through, and a mental process and everything. My thought process was that I thought when I got out on the water, I read the water temperature, I seen it was 79.5 or so. I kind of felt like most likely the fish were going to be in that spawn pattern. And this is a lake I'd only been to once before, and I knew it was up, and I knew it was up about 10 feet or more. So one of the things you can do, and talking about a Humminbird fish finder, one of the things that I think you should do is at that 80-degree range. You're normally in a lot of your lakes, you're going to have a thermocline, and that thermocline is normally going to be starting in that 20-foot range, somewhere around there. So the first thing I could do, when you're up 10 foot on your normal water, get out on the water, go to your offset and offset it +10, because that's going to show your depth markers on your HD maps and things like that. It's gonna offset that and change it to where it shows what the actual water level is going to be with the water as high as it is or as low as it is. So you can go negative or a positive. So I went, we'll say positive 10 feet, and then I go through, and you can set your chart up to locate water and highlight green water that's 20 foot and less, and then everything that's 20 foot and above can be red. When you do that, that can show you, you know, if there's a section of a lake or something that might be, you know, where there's more green area, there's more of your target zone to fish on an unfamiliar lake or something. So maybe go towards that direction. Um, but I didn't necessarily do all that. I had already had a idea that I wanted to go up. I basically thought of either there's two creeks that feed into that lake, and I was on Raccoon Lake, and it's almost like a big horseshoe. So I could have went either direction, and the smaller creek was on the west side, and I decided I wanted to go for a smaller creek, being um, I knew the water should have been rushing down in, you know, should have been at least at some point recently rushing down into that lake from that small creek. Um, so that was kind of what I decided to do. Um, I think four of the seven boats also decided to do that. So it wasn't a big area, and we were all fishing pretty close to each other. And like I was saying earlier, you know, really none of the other four boats had the success I did, and I want to say it's probably because of bait. They did. I don't think they had the fresh shad, and I don't think that they had a reason for why they were anchoring up where they anchored up at, or drifting. The guy drifting only caught one fish, but he didn't have the bait. Um, you know, and then what picture did he share, Chuck?
It shows Jason with that 10-foot stinger rod,
Uh,
and he put some font in it that says, let's see, it says at 10 foot the new stinger can handle even the biggest fisherman. The best way to predict the future is to invent it. Black Horse custom built rods, built to fish.
Yeah, Vince put that up. Chris, was the bait really tough to get over there, or did you just quit when you got all you needed?
no, like I said, I think I threw the cast net for probably an hour total, maybe 45 minutes in that area, and I ended up with maybe 15, maybe 12, somewhere around 12, 15 of those 4 to 5 inch shad. You know, they were good 3 cutter shads for what I was using. I'd cut the head off, a body off, in one little small section before the end of the tail. Normally, I throw the tails away. Um,
I think everybody does, yeah.
I've talked to plenty of people that like them tails. They swear
Really?
by the tails. Yep,
I
they use them tails. I'm not one for it, but I've talked to plenty of guys who do. They love them tails.
Huh.
I've on occasion I will mix things up, and I might throw a small body section on and a tail, and double, you know, just put 2 pieces on. And you know, I've caught fish that way too, but I've never really just used just a tail.
No, I haven't either.
But yeah, I
I,
mean, there was guys out there that was throwing the cast net, and they were asking me, you know, I guess they weren't real accustomed to the cast net because they weren't catching much, and I was trying to help them out. I told them, he said, "What's the secret with that thing?" Because he watched me catch a shad or two, and I said, "It's throwing it a lot, and it's throwing it in, you know, different places. You know, like I was with the water up 10 foot, I was trying to hit basically the tree line of where the trees were normally at, and that's, you know, I'd get right up next to some trees and throw it out there, and you know, it can be scary when you're throwing in water that's up that high and you're throwing near a lot of trees and stuff. When nets cost $50 a piece, you know,
yeah.
it's definitely not, you know, fun to tear your net up, but sometimes it's a sacrifice you have to try to make to get the bait.
You're talking about turning that up. I have a story. A good friend of mine that I've known my whole life. His name is Bruce Lawrence. He lives in Bowling Green there. And Bruce is one of the best guys with a net I've ever seen. He's not a real tall guy. Usually tall guys get along good with nets, but he had went out and bought a near $200 net. He was so proud of that thing, and we met up at a tournament one day, and he was telling me about this net, and I said, well, come on, I got to get some bait. And he said, well, come on, I'll go with you. We'll show you how this net works. And there's 3 or 4 of us around there. And Bruce, he forgot to slip that thing up over his wrist, and he made a throw, and I mean, this baby opened up about 10, 12 foot, a perfect circle, and he just watched it sink along with his rope, and he had the dumbest look on his face. I'm telling you, it was so funny. You know, never got it back, but that's river fishing. But yeah, it was quite comical. That was probably 10, 15 years ago when that happened. But Bruce is a hell of a net guy. And Chris Cordia, for those of you that know Chris Cordia, I'm guessing Chris is probably 5'6", 7". I don't think he's any taller than that. He might be, but I don't think so.
I think he's a little shorter than I am. I'm 5'7".
Yeah, he throws a 9-foot net, and he is extremely good at throwing that net. And like I say, I've watched Jason Mathena and Jason Jackson, and a lot of those big guys can throw a net really good. Troy Wallace is really good at throwing a net. But Chris, like I say, he's a little guy, and he throws a big net, and he makes it happen, and he gets a lot of bait. And, you know, I've never been very good at it. Usually can get a little bit of bait once in a while, but I wear out pretty quick when you go to throwing them things. If they're not, you know, there's not a lot of bait around. John Nordyke and I go out and get bait all the time, and he's so good about throwing the net, and you know, he knows my shoulder doesn't work very good, and he'll say, well, I got about 1 or 2 more good throws left in me, and then 15 or 20 throws later, we call it a night. But John throws the net a lot, and he's pretty good at it too.
Yeah, we've talked a lot on this show about Casey Tudorow and John LeMaster, and you know, out of all fairness, I got to tell you that I had to redo the ICA's website recently, and one of the things that really stood out to me, and there's a couple different parts of this, but they don't get enough recognition, is Chuck Breedlove and James Halcomb. These 2 guys in the ICA have won the points championship, I believe, the most times of anybody in the ICA. They have 5 or 6 points championships titles, and that is absolutely, like I've said, I think that the ICA has some of the best cat fishermen in it in the state. The guys that are going to all these different bodies of water, doing the different weather conditions and lake conditions and river conditions, and really fishing all kinds of types of water, to be able to be consistently winning like that, that's an accomplishment. That's a feat. I want to give them props for that. Also, I've fished with Chuck, and you know, back on the subject of throwing the cast net, he's a little bit taller than I am, but he throws a 10-foot cast net, and he throws that thing for hours. I've watched him do it for hours in a tournament with me. And, I mean, after 45 minutes, I'm already exhausted of throwing a net, a 5-foot net. You know, and that guy, not only will he throw a net for hours, you know, if he loses that net, which he's talked about before, he's, you know, thrown the whole net in the river and stuff, or got it hung up. You know, he's a good old boy. He basically takes his shoes off and jumps in the river and goes down there and pulls it back off.
Yeah, I met him a couple years ago at the Monsters. He is a really nice guy and a good fisherman.
Oh, they're great fishermen. You know, they are absolutely some of the best fishermen. And I, you know, unfortunately, he had a seizure on me the one time I got to fishing with him. So hopefully I get to go out with both of them another time, and you know, along with Casey and stuff, I want to fish with a lot of people that are in catfishing. You know, I enjoy it, learning something new from every person, and trying to utilize that in my game. And you know, it's good to just go out and just have a good time with guys that you know and stuff too.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know what, Chris, you know this well as I do. You go out with somebody, even if the fishing's not as good, you'll pick up something from them, or maybe they'll pick up something from you. But I almost always pick up something from whoever I'm in a boat with, and it may just be they're doing the same thing, but they're doing it different, and it's
Yeah, just a
easier. You
tad
know,
different.
absolutely. So yeah, I love fishing with different people. It's just too much fun.
Yep.
I
Yeah,
just
just that one little thing that's been missing, and you pick up on it,
yep.
and yeah,
You
and then from then on out, everything's uphill.
and you know, and it doesn't really matter if it's something that's technical about fishing or if it's something that has to do with the way they set their depth finder or the way they. There's just so much you can pick up from different people.
Yeah, and I mean, you can watch, there's people like myself where I could watch something 100 times and not be able to go out and do it. Yet if I'm out there on the water and I do it, and I see exactly what firsthand is going on, then I can do it. So the videos or the somebody talking about it, it's just not the same as being out there with somebody who's doing it.
No,
Um,
it's not. And you know, a prime example of that is Jason Mathena was up at my house here, oh, it's probably been a year or so ago, and we was talking about knots and hooks and different things, and I showed him a rig that I used, and he didn't like it. He didn't like it at all. And it was a two hook setup, and he showed me a different way of tying basically the same thing with dropper loops, and I had tried dropper loops a different way than he was doing, and the way that he done it made so much more sense. And like I say, if you every time you go with somebody, you'll pick something up.
that's all I have for tonight so far, I think.
Now I
Yeah.
got me too.
You guys got any closing statements you want to make?
No, I put my closing statement in with my.
Yeah, just Catfish, Indiana Catfish Association. Watch our Facebook page. We're either going to be at New Albany or at Duffy's. So they're both real close. So I think if you could come to one, you can come to the other probably. But hopefully we're going to be on the water. Like we said earlier, just want everybody to be safe. I think we're going to, if we move it, we move it. We've moved every tournament this year, and I know there's people that's mad about it, and all I can do is apologize. Um, most of it's not been up to me. I think I've had part in one of those moves. So, this time if we get it moved, I want to try. I'll try to let you know as soon as possible. Hopefully, I talk to him today. I don't know if he's going to have a decision or not. Um, but also remember, everybody, next week is going to be my last show. So show up, say goodbye, and all that. So I think that's all I have.
Well, you guys be careful in that tournament out there, Chris. There's a lot of good people that fish them tournaments with you, and I don't want to see anybody get hurt. And, I know. Did you say it was on a lake or on a river?
Right now,
Did you say that tournament's on a lake or on the river?
that's the Ohio River.
Yeah. Be careful out there, fellas. Have a good time and catch some fish, but be very cautious on them in that high water. And you know, we just there's nothing you can say. You just have to use your head and common sense, and that'll get you by. And I'm not going to talk about any of the tournaments that we got in this area that we find out what this water situation is going to do. So we'll go from there, and uh, as soon as we know something, we'll get it posted. Like I say, we're going to have Aaron Wheatley on about Monsters of Ohio in a couple of weeks. A week or so after that, we'll be having Jason Mathena. We'll get some other people lined up so you guys get prepared for some knowledge. I know Aaron will be full of knowledge or something, and Jason will be too. Okay, Chris, there's one last thing you got to do.
Stay out of my spot.
That's it. Talk to you later, guys.